everyone. Today I'd like to show you how I make this beautiful pearl ring. First of all, when I made this ring, I was mainly finishing off leftover wires that I have. I normally have a container of wires that I've used. Like this one, I was doing some work and I wasn't happy with it, so I pulled it apart, but I could still reuse it by straightening it, but for the meantime, I just put them all in here, and when I do need to use some wires, this is the first place I go to pick bits and pieces. So this has sterling silver beads ranging from size 2, 3, and 4 millimeters, and the pearls, I've got some freshwater pearls, which are actually uneven in shape. And this one, I think it's called flat back, and this is about 6 millimeter. And also I've used some 4 millimeter freshwater gold pearls. So the very first thing we are going to do, oh, by the way, I also made this one last night so I could remember how I made it. Because once I make something, I normally forget how I make it. So these are the two different variations. And I've actually made a couple of them, but that got taken by the daughters. Well, 2 of the daughters got 1 each, and I still have to make 3 more for our 3 other daughters. I got a piece of wire that's 20 gauge and 8 inches long. So I'm going to take the 2 ends and just press the bottom or the center of the wire, and I'll put one across here. I'll put the other one across there and bring it up. This is a sterling silver wire and it's half hard, and which is quite springy. And we're just going to center. Just going to take a piece of rag here so it doesn't run away from me. And I'm going to hold these 2 together. So once you got it to the size that you want, so take the center and just twist it around. Like that. So that's a bit more loose than I wanted, but I'll just check. So that's perfect. And you just turn them around. Around those pliers, and I'll just push this in a bit more towards there because we're going to flick it back anyway. That way there. I'm going to take my round nose pliers, grab the end, and I'm just going to twist it like that, and I'll do the same on the other side. I'll take my nylon pliers and just adjust it because it's lifting up a bit there. Nice and flat. So now that's the base of our ring. Before we move on to the next step, it's up to you whether you want 2 rings or 3 or 1. So, but they're all the same. So that's the base for our ring to put the beads and the pearls onto. So I have 2 pieces of wire. One is 28 gauge and the other one is a 24 gauge, and they're both 8 inches. So that's what I've said, since I made that using offcuts. You can really use short bits. It doesn't really matter. It's just up to you. First, I'm using the 24 gauge, and I'm going to hook this up to here. Take that short wire and just wrap it around through my ring, using a clamp because it's much easier to grab hold of. I'm going to do a couple of loops, 2 or 3. And I am going to tighten that and put that up there. So nylon pliers to tighten it. Okay. also to set it so it doesn't wobble around. And I'm going to take one pearl and insert it. It's a matter of constructing it and see how you do your design. So I would like that pearl to sit there. So I'm going to hook this up to my round little loop there, just so we can have something secure. Don't pull, don't let it kink, because even though this is a 0.5 millimeter or a 24 gauge, if you have nicks or marks, it will just break off. I'm going to go around again, just so for added security. And so now I would want this to go over and around. I'm trying to do this part here. So I'm just going around, but I'm doing sort of a mirror image. I won't get it exactly the same because I've got different shaped pearls, but I'll try and get as close as I can. So now I'm inserting a gold pearl, and I'm just figuring out where it would sit best. So if I move the pearl over here, then it would end up on the other side, which is not a bad idea. Or I could just loop this up. So I've taken my pearl off and move it up the top here, insert it there, and then that way I can have the pearl. And again, it's trying to kink up. So when it's trying to kink up like that, just up it along, pull it slowly. Okay. And so now I've got the pearl sitting there, but it's gonna hit a ridge there. So before I put the pearl, I'm gonna put a small 2 millimeter sterling silver bead and insert that there, and you go in there. You can go in there and do that, and I would want you to go back into here. So I've just inserted it back. So in a way, this is so difficult to show you guys how to make this, but the making process or the technique really is just so easy. It's just a matter of placing the beads and the pearls, and you can also use other beads if you like, glass beads or gemstone beads, it's up to you. You can even use chips. Gemstone chips will be good for this one as well. So I've got that secured there. So now again, I'm going to put the pearl or the gold pearl, and so the pearl would sit there. If I take it there, we'll have the same problem as what we started with. So I'm gonna go and put that there and flick it underneath. So I'm just resting that there, inserting my wire underneath, so it's in between the white pearl and the bead, so that section there. So it's just a matter of finding gaps, and I'm gonna pull that, but not all the way through, so that way the pearl, so that's nice and tight now. See how underneath it looks like that, but I've secured the pearl in that corner. So now I want to move on to the other side and put another white pearl, and I am putting that on top. I will hook up my wire underneath that loop of our ring, or the main loop of our ring. Again, I'm just gonna, and I want to put a gold in that corner. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hook this up onto the side or the shoulder of my ring, going inwards. And I'm going to put a stop to that by doing that. So that can stay there. I still have gaps on the corner there to fill it up with wire again later on. So in my little beauty here, I'm going to go under and tighten. And now I want to put a series of silver beads like this one here. So those 1, 2, there's 3 there. So we'll see how many I can put. I already got 1 there. So I'll put 1. See how that looks or sits into the wire. So that would sit like that there. I would want a bigger bead. And so you have one small one, one bigger one, and one small one again. And so now I can look for a gap where I can insert this. So either that way or that way. That way I think would be better. So I'm just going to hook it up to this one here, doing reverse. So there is no pattern or a right way to do this or a wrong way. Except you just find a gap and keep adding on. Now she doesn't want to play or cooperate, so if this happens, we can make loops like this one. There. You can make little loops like that around with the wire. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And so now I've got all those things filled up there, all the wire filled up. I can add on a couple more small beads. And another one. And I'll see how it sits. So actually that actually looks good. That is sitting quite nicely with the 3 of them. It looks like 3 of them just got stacked there. So now I'm going to insert this to the side or the shoulder. And take this off and slowly guide that, push, because it is trying to kink up. And there you go. Now I'm gonna go and secure this and put it through. So I came out on the other side, put it back through where it came from, because there's a gap there. And then there you go. So that's one side. That's actually looking pretty. So I've got some black beads here now, so I'll just pick. This one is uneven. So a black pearl bead, and we'll see how it sits on top. White again. So far, that's the original one, and then this is what we're making. So now this one now, I'm going to loop it around. If you can see on the corner here, or on the side of the shoulder, there's a gap. And since it's going to be fiddly, I'm going to use a tweezer. And fish it out from the other side. See it sticking out there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the opposite side of that is there. So I'm going to try. So that one, we need that for the other side. I'm just going to push that. And insert it back through there. So what I'm doing is just mainly finishing it off. Push that in and take it out from the other side. push that because it needed to be pulled tight. Trusty pliers. I could pull it out, but if not, we'll get a pliers. To insert this and tuck it in. Just sticking up there, so I'm just going to tuck that in again. Okay. So now that doesn't catch on. So with this one now, see that was just sitting there with the, because we've worked on this side first. So that one I'm just going to put another small bead there to hide the gap. Or maybe a bigger bead, we'll see. We'll see the bigger one first, see what it looks like. If we put that there, it's a bit too big, so I'm going to use a smaller one. It's a bit better. And we're going to insert it through our black pearl here. So that gap there, you can see that gap there, that's where I'm going to insert it. And so now it's come out of the pearl, the white pearl. So I'll pull that through. And so this one is getting short as well, so I'm going to secure this into this part here. I'll just pick the ones with the biggest gap. I'm just bending it curved because it is very, very, very fiddly. So I've got one loop. And I could do another loop or I could cut it off, but right now it's taking so long for you to see, so I'm just going to cut that off and secure that, tuck that in. We'll use nylon pliers so it doesn't mark my pearl on top. So far, that's what we've come up with. So you could stop there or you could continue, and to continue on, you just keep adding on. So now I'm actually using the 28 gauge wire that I already got cut off here, and I'm just gonna continue here and hook this up to there, and then I'm gonna do this halfway so that way I can work on both sides. And so there you go. So again, I could go on and make it bigger, or I could just stop here. It doesn't really matter. So it's up to you what design you'd like. So, but as for that one now, I think that looks pretty good. So I just need to do a little bit of adjustment here and there, but I've added on a few more beads and pearls. So now my ring is finished. So now these two are the ones I've shown you earlier, and this is the one that we've worked on. And so now finally, after adding a couple more pearls and beads, it's finished. And if you have any problems with the ones you're making, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or leave a question, and I will definitely get back to you and answer them. Happy wrapping!